Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another video. We've got quite a bit to get into this morning, or this afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Got a few smaller updates from Rovers, got a couple of big ones as well, stuff on contracts, stuff on a couple of games being pushed forward or pushed back in terms of times. Got some other smaller updates to go on as well. We're going to start off first of all by saying congratulations to Charlie Crew, one of our young midfielders. Obviously, he's been promoted this week for international duty with Wales under 19. So, congratulations to Charlie. Obviously, great to see some of our young players get that international experience. So, and to be fair, in my opinion, I think he's more than earned it. I think he's a good carrier of the ball. I think that he is a decent young midfielder. So, I think he's more than earned that opportunity in this particular international opportunity, that international break. Um, Obviously, our clash with AC Wimbledon has been brought to a half-12 kickoff on April the 12th. So again, that's another Saturday 3 o'clock gone. Obviously, another one that's been up in the air at the moment is the Salford game. I'm hearing that that could very well be um, basically postponed. So again, that's another one gone for next week. So I think Salford could very well be postponed next week. But again, we'll get official confirmation on it as we get it. But obviously, by the time you're watching this, you might already have seen official confirmation by then. So you never know. But let's get into the main topic of what we're here to do today in terms of talking about today, and that is about contracts. Now, Grant McCann spoke in the press ahead of tomorrow's game against Crew. By the way, we are going to be streaming that right here on YouTube. We're going to be cross-streaming it across Twitch, X, YouTube, across all three platforms. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll be watching along with the game. Half-12 kickoff, of course. That's why we're doing a watch-along instead. And yeah, we can't wait for it. So let's get into the story then about contracts. So obviously we know that there is an extension on Carl Hurst's contract when he got loaned out to Queen's Park. We know that Jack Senior and George Broadbent have signed contract extensions 2026. And obviously, I've never had a chance to talk about that yet. Excuse me. But I think those are two very good contract extensions. Two very good contract extensions. And the reason why I say that is, I mean, first of all, let's talk about Jack Senior. Senior is, in my opinion, a very useful player. I think since he's been in the team, I think he's given nothing but his best. I think he's given above average performances at the very minimum, which is what you want for a player. You want someone who's above the average level most weeks, especially with consistency being so key in a competitive division like League Two. And I think with the formations that we play, I think with the 3-4-2-1, in my opinion, still the best formation we've used. We do utilise the 4-2-3-1. You can put Senior on at left back, or you can put him in his more favoured position on the left hand side of a back three. So Senior for me is a very useful player. Gives an opportunity to, I wouldn't say hold bench because arguably and a bit harshly at the minute he is holding bench to Maxwell. In a back three, I would argue that Senior and Maxwell can play together. So that's where I would go with that. But I think Senior for me is a useful player. I think at least one more year out of him, see what he does. If he wants more first team football for 26-27 season onwards, we'll let him go. Broadbent's an interesting one. Now, Broadbent, don't get me wrong, there's times where he's put in some good performances, some brilliant performances. He's held the midfield together. He's dictated play from the back. But there is times also where there's the odd mistake in him, and there's the mistakes here and there. And I think there's a lack of consistency with Broadbent. So, with George, and I do think McCann sees a player in him, I think the idea is one more year, show me what you can do, and if you don't show it by then, you're out the door. And that's the ruthlessness we've got to show at this level, and League One as well, potentially. So, I think Broadbent given a year extension, I'll accept that. It gives him a year to prove himself. Senior, I think he deserved it, more than deserved it anyway. And obviously Hurst we knew about anyway. But in terms of other contracts, because that's the story here, They've been talking about it in the press this week, and McCann said this. They are working hard to reduce the number of players entering the final few months. Among those in particular, of course, Olowu and Billy Sharp. Now, McCann said, we're working very, very hard behind the scenes to keep people and improve people's contracts. Also, I think we're quite close on a few in terms of extending contracts. We know who we want to try and keep. There's obviously players still playing to get a contract, which we like because there's a hunger there. We've always got a plan in place for where we need to be. Obviously, he spoke about senior and broadbent as well. But, and this is what I think, right, with the contracts, and I'm going to get this up to kind of use it as a, not necessarily a backbone, but to kind of use it as a platform to have a look at who's running out, who's out of deals, this, that, the other. So obviously we know the loanees go back. Sharman Lowe, wages are scary at Chelsea. There's no chance for a permanent deal, but I don't think that's the plan. Rob Street, he's been probably one of the informed players in the last few weeks. I think that obviously he goes back to Lincoln. He's on a lot. He's on quite a bit. I'd say with his contract running out in 2028. So you wouldn't think a permanent deal would be happening. You'd think he'd go back to Lincoln and prove himself there. Patrick Kelly's not been as much involved the past few weeks, past couple of months, but again, I think there's a player in there still. Obviously, we know that Charlie Cruz is going to go back to Leeds. Ethan Ennis, I don't think I've seen enough of Ennis yet. I don't think he's proved himself yet. So he'll go back to United's academy and maybe get a loan further down or still in League Two next season. And then you've obviously got the players out of contract permanently. So Olowu is the main one I keep. I'll put it to you bluntly this way. If we go up, Olowu stays. If we don't go up, it'll be very hard to keep him. And to be fair, who could blame him? He's been one of the star players this season. He's been one of the most improved players from last season, definitely. Last season, I thought he put in some good performances. He's just upped that this season. So Olowu for me is someone who I think will deserve an opportunity at some point, but at the same time, I think he's someone you kind of leave. Well, I won't say leave on the back burner, but you'd say if we don't go up, you wouldn't expect him staying because at the end of the day, the guy wants to improve his career. Billy Sharp, Sharp's another main one. His leadership and his experience off the pitch is vital, but in terms of what he offers us on the pitch, nah, not this time, not this time. And people will be like, oh, nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia. No, screw your nostalgia. I want players that can perform every single week. I need forwards who can score every single week. Rob Street's pretty much nearly doing that. Ironside was doing that last season. Billy Sharp, he's got a few, but a few's not nowhere near enough. And with the experience that he's got, and with the goals that he's scored in the past, with his experience, with his leadership, with his ability to lead a team, haven't been doing it for me. He hasn't been doing it for me. And would I give Billy Sharp a new contract? Not really. At this point in time, not really. If he does sign a new contract, I'll back him. Of course I will. But what I would say to Billy Sharp in the next 12 months, if it is just a 1 year extension, I would say, look, Billy Sharp, you've got 1 year. Improve your goal contributions from this season or out the door. Simple as that. And it might be harsh, but that's how we need to be to move up the divisions. Jamie Sterry is another one. I think that there was times when I criticised him fairly. There's times where I think that he is more than a bit player. I think that he's better as a wing back still than a full back. However, at the same time, I think that he, in my personal opinion, is someone who has improved the past few weeks. So again, he's someone I would maybe look at a 1 year extension, or if he really improves his performances, I would look at a new contract for him. But I also still think there are better fullbacks or attacking fullbacks in the League One market if we do go to League One this year, which I think we could do. I think that there are better options out there still. But that's just me, in my opinion. I think that Sterry's better as a wing back. If we're going to go with a back four to start off with, I think there's better options. I think Nixon for me is a better player, but I wouldn't be against keeping him if he continues this run of form. So that's where I come in with it anyway. Tom Anderson, I think the time's right. I think the time's done. I think he's come on leaps and bounds the past couple of weeks. He's stepped in really well the past few weeks, but he's a rotational player. It might be a 1 year extension for a testimonial, but that's about it. I don't see him on a long term deal. And that's nothing against Tom Anderson. I think on his day he's a fantastic no nonsense centre back, but at the end of the day, we need consistency. And yeah, the past few weeks has been great, but he's not been involved as much because McGrath's been better than him and Oluwu's been better than him. And that's our starting partnership going forward. If Oluwu goes, we bring in someone who's just as good as Oluwu, if not better, to partner McGrath. That's just my opinion. Richard Wood, I think he's been too injury prone this year. Nothing against him, but I think that, yes, his leadership counts for something, but I think he's too injury prone. Ian Lawler, if he wants to stay as the number 2 to a brand new number 1, keep on a new deal. If you don't want to be here as the number 2, you got to let him go. And you also got the teenage keeper, Jake Oram. I think you keep him as a third choice, in my personal opinion. Obviously, there's other players that have got their contract situations in the air. Bobby Faulkner, I think he probably goes. Zane Westbrook, I could see him going potentially. I think he's got a year left, so I could be wrong about that, but I think he goes anyway. So there's a few that I think will be out the door, in my personal opinion. Obviously, Grant said we're pretty much close to a few. So you'd think Oluwu, hopefully. I've got a feeling Sharp will be another. I've got a feeling Sterry will be another. That's the least of a few. If you want to include another one, it'd be Jake. If you want a fifth one, you're probably looking at Ian Lawler. So I'd say the main ones that I think will, or Tom Anderson. I think he could go Tom Anderson. So in terms of the main ones who I think will definitely leave, I think you're looking at either one of Lawler or Anderson and Richard Wood. I think the other ones have a chance of staying under the manager's eye. Me personally, who I would keep, and it's nothing against the players personally, it's just from if I was in charge of the club, who would I keep? It'd be Oluwu, maybe Sterry, and probably Lawler as a second choice. If you don't want to stay, then you keep Jake. But that's in my opinion, who I would go with. There's nothing against the players personally or anything like that. That's just who I would go with because I think that we just start clean slate and bring in fresh new faces that are going to rise up the next division. And I think that's where we should be aiming for. We should be aiming for League One level recruitment, even in League Two. So that's where I stand on the whole thing anyway. Like I said, nothing against the players personally, but that's just where I stand. But thank you very much, guys, for watching this. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you go follow the Twitch. The link is now in the description for the Twitch profile. And for now, ladies and gentlemen, I am the CHALL. To off and out, and that is full time.